All right, let's talk about that stone you see on houses everywhere. It's called adhered masonry stone veneer, and you know the exact look I'm talking about. That rugged, beautiful stone that just screams curb appeal, makes a house look solid, permanent. It's no wonder it's gotten so popular over the past couple of decades.
I mean, why wouldn't you want it? It's super trendy, looks incredible, and it's all over new homes and big renovations. It's supposed to be a sign of quality, of real style. But here's the thing. What you see on the surface could be hiding a completely different story, a very, very expensive one.
So just as we're all admiring this stuff, one of the sharpest minds in building science, Dr. Joe Listerberg, he comes along and calls it lumpy stucco. Yeah, that doesn't exactly sound like a compliment, does it? It immediately begs the question, what does he know that most of us don't? And that question takes us right here. You see, the real problem isn't usually the stone itself. It's how it gets put on the wall. The whole issue boils down to this huge disconnect between vague industry guidelines and the super strict, non-negotiable rules in the actual building code.
Okay, check out the language on this slide. This comes straight from the official industry installation guide. Notice the words: optional, refer to, may be required, if present. It's all suggestions and get-out-of-jail-free cards. There are almost no hard and fast rules. And all that wiggle room, well, that's where the trouble starts.
And this is where it all comes to a head. On one side, you have that wishy-washy guide saying a water barrier may be required. But on the other side, that's the building code. That's the law. And the law doesn't do maybe. It says a weep screed shall be installed. That's a command, not a suggestion. When installers follow the fuzzy guide instead of the crystal clear code, the clock starts ticking on a major problem. So what actually happens when those rules get ignored? Well, you essentially turn your wall into a crime scene. And to understand the damage, we gotta play detective. We need to figure out how the water gets in, and more importantly, why it can't get out. Here's the most important concept you need to know: water management. For literally any siding you put on a house, you have to install it like it's allergic to water. You have to assume water's gonna get behind it, because it will. So you have to build in a clear exit path, a way for that water to drain down the wall and get out, away from all the wood that's holding your house together. So let's trace the path this water takes. First up, the stone and the mortar. They're porous. They act like a sponge and just soak up rainwater. Then that moisture gets pulled inward toward the wood framing of the house. Now here's the fatal mistake. If there's no drainage gap and no weep screed at the bottom, that water has absolutely nowhere to go. It's trapped. And what does trapped water do to wood? You guessed it, rot, mold. It even rolls out the welcome mat for termites. I just love this analogy. It's so perfect. You know that feeling after you crush a giant tub of salty popcorn at the movies? Well, that's your wall without a weep screed. A weep screed is just a simple little piece of flashing at the bottom that lets water out. Without it, the wall just holds on to all that moisture, getting heavier and soggier over time. It's a tiny detail with huge, huge consequences. And that leads us to the part everyone dreads: the damage. The truly terrifying part of a bad stone veneer job is that all the destruction happens behind the scenes. It's almost completely invisible until it's become an absolute catastrophe. And listen, this is especially bad if you live somewhere humid, like Central Florida. Because of a thing called vapor drive, all that hot, sticky air outside is constantly trying to push its way into your cool, air-conditioned house. A bad veneer job is like strapping a giant wet sponge to the side of your home, holding all that moisture against the wood and just putting the rot on fast forward. And here's the scariest part: you won't see it coming. The rot happens silently, inside the wall. It could be months or even years before you ever see a sign on the inside, like a puffy-looking baseboard or a little stain. And by then, the hidden damage can be just immense. The wall cavity could literally look like a science experiment gone wrong. So let's talk numbers. What's the bill for fixing this? Well, if you get really, really lucky and catch it early, you might get away with a repair in the $1,000 to $4,000 range. But in the real world, for a typical home, especially in a humid place, the average is way higher. Now we're in the $7,000 to $15,000 ballpark to get it all fixed properly. And if that water has been trapped for years, eating away at the actual structure of your home, you're easily looking at $30,000 and probably more. This is, as they say, there goes the college fund money, a true financial nightmare. To give you some perspective, one expert, Mark Parlay, he thinks this problem could actually be bigger than the whole EIFS crisis back in the 90s. That was a type of synthetic stucco that trapped moisture and led to massive class action lawsuits. So when an expert says this could be even worse, that's a really sobering thought.
Okay, I know that was a lot of bad news, but the point here isn't just to scare you, it's to empower you. So, what can you actually do about any of this? Let's get into a real action plan. If you have stone veneer on your house right now, the first thing to do is just be vigilant. Keep an eye out for any of those subtle signs inside. Don't panic, but definitely don't stick your head in the sand. You can do some simple checks yourself, like pulling up the corner of a carpet by a stone wall, or carefully prying back a piece of baseboard. You'd be shocked at what that can tell you. And if you're out there shopping for a house with stone veneer, this is absolutely critical. You have to, and I mean have to, hire a home inspector who really understands building science and knows the exact failure points to look for with this material. A general inspector is very likely to miss the subtle clues that point to a huge, hidden disaster. So, in the end, it really all comes down to this. That beautiful stone on the outside of a house might be trying to tell you a very ugly story about trapped water and hidden decay happening on the inside. The question is, are you listening?